Standing emergency.
My mommy and daddy are having a fight. Stop it! Don't take the baby! Stop it!
They're on their way, but I'm going to keep you on the line until they get there.
Oh my God!
What's the matter?
Something happened!
The police are on their way, okay? Hello?
Responding to these types of calls is one of the most difficult things that I do. When I enter a scene, it's a scene of desperation. It's a scene of high emotion, and the abuse goes much deeper than anything I can possibly see. Children are the silent victims. They don't have a choice on what they see or hear, and they're really helpless to change it.
I was with him for years. The abuse started once I was pregnant with our first child. He would hit me, he would kick me, strangle me, lock me in bedrooms. I wasn't allowed to go anywhere. He controlled me. And this went on for years.
It was a nightmare. I thought about killing myself because there's no way out. One time he wanted to burn the house down when we were sleeping. I don't know, it was around 2 a.m. in the morning. I don't know what woke me up. So I woke up and I took the kids outside. And he doesn't just abuse me, he abused the kids. That's the worst of it. He used a stick to whack them. He slapped the kids a lot in the face. And he started abusing the kids like 2 weeks old, slapped them because he was crying, the baby was crying.
You know, domestic violence is just such a serious thing and a prevalent thing that tugs at the heartstrings of all police officers, especially here in St. Paul. And you know, I've got a personal experience as a police officer that remembering when I was a young commander back in 2000, going to a scene of a domestic violence here in the city of St. Paul, call where a mother had killed her 3 children. And to this date, I have never forgot how that made me feel to walk into that situation. The Family Sexual Violence Unit, FSVU as we call it here in the St. Paul Police Department, plays an important role in combating domestic violence in the city of St. Paul. The investigative staff there work countless hours. It's amazing the work they do. In fact, they're probably the busiest investigators within the St. Paul Police Department. Working with families, and especially single mothers, that many times are not only threatened, but physically abused, is just something that we can't have in the city. And those investigators in that unit work to hold offenders accountable. They worked with the victims and specifically mothers and others to get them help with many of our partners, such as St. Paul Intervention Project, which does a tremendous job in working with families and victims of domestic violence, or Bridges for Safety, where mothers can come and feel safe, drop off their children and get counseling services and orders for protections, and just in general ask questions about where they can go when they feel like they have nobody else to support them. It's important how they all work together. FSVU, St. Paul Intervention, Bridges for Safety, it's really a recipe for success. It's part of our blueprint for safety. But we always have to remember one thing. This work is so important and it never goes away.
The St. Paul Police Department is the advocate's strongest bridge to reaching victims of domestic violence. From the patrol officer that calls our agency to let us know of the most recent domestic crime, to an investigator in the family violence unit calling us to ask us to please follow up with the woman they're concerned about. That itself is one of the greatest ways the St. Paul Police Department responds to victims of domestic violence, because they see the importance of connecting victims with advocates that are going to give them confidential services, a safe place to fall, a safe place to go.
When I first came to St. Paul Intervention, I felt lost. I felt broken. I felt used. I didn't know who I was. I was controlled and told what to do for years. And when I got here, the first thing that my advocate said is, "You are so beautiful." And when I went home, I looked in the mirror and I'm like, I am beautiful. And it took a lot of sessions, and I was scared, and I had my doubt. You know, I didn't think that I could ever break free from the situation. But I did, you know, and it's the best feeling when you wake up and you know who you are. And that's what St. Paul Intervention gave me.
As an advocate, as a person that has been doing this work for over 3 decades, when I see what the St. Paul Police are doing to address domestic violence, I feel blessed. I feel that we have a strong and a true partner. I hear from sister programs all over the United States. They'll say to me, "I wish we had your police department."
Somebody's idea to put this thing together. So whoever put this thing together, I would say thank you. And I don't want this to die. I don't want this to go away. Putting this system away would be like saying there's no more domestic abuse, there's no more domestic violence, which we know is impossible not to happen. That's what we wish, because domestic abuse affects everybody, the kids, the community.
I think that the police unit needs to remain, even grow. They're wonderful, and because of them, this is where I'm at. If that day would have never happened, I don't know where I would be in life, but I definitely wouldn't be as happy and have so much confidence as I do now.